Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Dribble Drive podcast. I'm your host, Austin Render. Dalton Shetler is not with us on this episode. He missed last week's episode as well. You may have seen it on social media. Him and his wife have welcomed their first child into the world. So congratulations to the Shetlers and little baby Shetler. We're looking forward to having him on again here soon, but obviously they've got their hands full right now, Dalton and Maddie do. So definitely thinking about them. Marshall is his name. If you go to Dalton's X page, he did post some pictures of him. So but yeah, Dalton won't be with us here today. We'll get him back once he's ready, but letting the Shetlers spend some family time together. And this is an episode that I think I can certainly handle. We're diving into the Hoosiers today. We've got Teri Moren joining the show. My preamble here won't be very long. Running a little bit on empty, and I caught a bug this week. So and we had a really long conversation with Coach Moren. So we're gonna get to that here shortly. A reminder: we are a part of the Back Home Network YouTube channel. Head there, subscribe, you can get all of our episodes there in video form. If you're a podcast person, that's fine too. Go subscribe to our podcast page on Apple or Spotify podcasts. You can listen to us there. We do like to incorporate graphics and whatnot in the shows, especially during the season. So the YouTube channel allows you to see that. But again, I'm like a lot of people. I like to listen to podcasts on the go. We give you that option as well. Follow us on X at Dribble Drive WBB. Keep you posted on what is going on with all our episodes. We are working through our episodes here in this preview season. We are almost there. This is we're going to have just 5 preview episodes remaining after today, and then the season starts. So there you go. We are getting right down to the nitty-gritty here of the knock on the door of the season, which is a little over a month away, about 5 weeks away from now. So this is an Indiana episode. We are going to have Coach Moren joining us here shortly. Looking at this Indiana team, it's going to be very different than it has been in past years. This is an Indiana team that is really going to look very different than what they have looked like before. Shay Ciezki is kind of the lone returner with big-time contributions from last season. Lenee Beaumont, if you're watching us on YouTube, she's the other person I put on the graphic. She's been with the program. This is her 3rd year, but she played a little bit as a freshman, got injured last offseason, never ended up playing in a game last year, but they are so excited for her. There's Grace Berger comparisons when it comes to Lenee Beaumont, which if it doesn't excite you, I don't know why it wouldn't. Grace Berger would be a great addition to this program, and I think Lenee has a lot of that in her. But yeah, she missed all of last season, got cleared this summer, so they're hoping that she'll be ready to go full go by November time. That if you're watching us on YouTube, that list of transfers is one of the longest lists in the Big Ten. You've got Journey Kiaku from Duquesne, Phoenix Stowtime from Arkansas, Jade Unjanemi from Northwest Florida State, Adessa Noyan from Virginia, Xenia Soken-Gemin from UCLA, and Chloe Spreen from Alabama. That is a long list. And if you notice, 4 of those are from Power 5 programs: Arkansas, Virginia, UCLA, Alabama. So some good SEC, ACC, Big Ten experience for these players that are coming in. And then the freshman class is really good. Maya Makaleski and Nevaeh Caffey are both top 45 recruits in their class. Teri Moren will mention it in our upcoming interview here, that she thinks they'll be able to impact this team right away. And so it's going to be a new look. And I think if you're like me and you're a Hoosier fan, you've been wondering what this team's going to look like, you're going to get a lot of answers here coming up with my conversation with Coach Moren. As we kind of ran through all the transfers, the freshmen, what this team could look like. So a lot of questions answered, at least in the lead up to the season. Now, what will it look like on the court? We won't find that out until November. But this team is going to be very new, very young. But I think the ceiling is still very high for this IU basketball team. So without further ado, We're going to toss it to our interview with Coach Moren. And after that, that'll be it for our episode for today. Again, our preview episodes continue. Next Tuesday, we will have Coquise Washington of Rutgers on the show to talk about the Scarlet Knights. So, Rutgers fans, you're coming up next. And we do still have Wisconsin, UCLA, Washington, and Ohio State to tackle here over the next couple of weeks. So, make sure you subscribe, download the episodes, stay up to date on all the stuff we are putting out. But without further ado, let's toss it to the interview with the head coach of the Hoosiers, Teri Moren. We'll talk to you guys next week. And we're now joined by the head coach of the Indiana women's basketball program, Teri Moren. Coach, thanks for joining us. I know there's not the off-season word. There's not really an off-season, but how has your off-season gone so far?
Well, good. There wasn't really an off season. So yeah. I was very, very busy with right after the season with the portal. And then portal led us right into our newcomers that joined us. And then I was off with USA Basketball for several weeks, only to be able to come back and spend the last week and a half of summer access with them. And then, recruiting never stops, as we all know. And here we are at the beginning of I can't believe it, a new season, year 12 for me. So
that's
crazy.
Awesome. And we're obviously going to talk plenty about your team, but talk a little bit about your Team USA experience. You got another gold medal there over in the Czech Republic. Just talk a little bit about that experience you got to be a part of.
Well, it's such a, first of all, a humbling experience to be asked to do that. This is my fourth summer of doing it. And, 2 as an assistant and certainly 2 as the head coach. But, Austin, I think there was more relief than anything when it was over. It's my 4th gold medal that I've been lucky enough to be a part of. But, the U20s it's a different deal, because the age range is so different. There's professionals, they're upcoming, going to be, college players. There's college players, like just the range of athletes that are participating in that particular tournament is a lot different, than when I took the U18s and the 16s and so forth. And so a lot of different, it was a lot of pressure to go over to the Czech Republic and win that thing. But I had a great team, a very talented team. Top to bottom, some of those kids that we're going to have to compete against, sooner or later down the road here at Indiana. It's great to have Z on our roster as well. So it gave she and I some time to spend together, but also get used to each other. She I think certainly could pick up on how it's going to be when she comes here or when she's here, and Coach Moren day in and day out coaching, what that looks like for her. And so I think she got an early glimpse of that. But it's funny because I look back and I talk about the pressure, like the U16s had won, the U20s had won, the AmeriCup had just won when we landed. And it was like, we don't want to be the team that doesn't, finish the job, after this was all said and done. But great experience, phenomenal talent. The Czech Republic, which is where Val's from, her father was significant in putting that tournament on in Brno. Did an outstanding job. So, a lot of great experience. But again, it takes me away from my guys here, back in Bloomington as well. So, needless to say, it was good to win the gold, but I was certainly glad to be back with my basketball team.
Absolutely. Well, last season, obviously there were a lot of really good moments in last season. You had the ups, you had the downs. What'd you learn as a staff about your team, about your program through last season?
Well, I think outside of our first year here at Indiana, this is, I chalk this up to being probably one of the most challenging years for other reasons other than just basketball. Some of the things that we were going through as a program here. but it taught us. I think we became better coaches. There's no question. I think our players, we had to find some solutions for some of the shortcomings that we did have. We had to rely a lot on our seniors, Sid Parrish and Chloe Moore McNeil, and Strip, who was a terrific pickup for us. I mean, she was so significant, instrumental in one of the reasons why we had the success is because of her play. Again, I think you find out quickly that this is a league that has incredible players, that has incredible coaches, that we have so much respect for. There's going to be peaks and valleys throughout every season. And, I think back when we won the Big Ten a couple years ago, there were still peaks and valleys in that season as well. It's just, what do you learn from it? How can you learn from your failures? How can you show back up the next day and try to correct those and get better, and stick together? I think that's the thing that probably was, there was a lot of challenges, but, when you have a group that's resilient, that wants to stick together, that wants, Sid Parrish, like she wanted to leave this place and create a legacy for herself. And Chloe wanted to do the same. And even Strip, although she was only with us a short season, she had an impact on our program. I just think that our young kids, and there's only 5 of them that, are returning. The rest, everybody else is brand new to us. But, I think Lenee Beaumont, I think Shay, even Faith and Val, there was a lot of valuable lessons that they learned from a year ago. Some of what to do, what we need to continue to do, and some of those things that we just can't, we got to stop doing. And hopefully we'll be better, and hopefully we'll have great leadership, for all those new kids that we do, those new faces that we do have, including 2 true freshmen in the mix.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about all these new faces you have put together here. But just going these last 2 off seasons, 2 years ago, you didn't have anybody transfer out. This season, it was obviously a much bigger transfer out and a transfer in. How different, just try and explain, I guess, to those of us who aren't around, how different these last 2 off seasons have been for you and your staff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can explain it. I think I don't think we're special, in terms of the kids that had left our program for one reason or the other. It did, like you said, mentioned a year ago, I was so proud of the fact that we didn't have anybody leave. And because it's, I'm so hypersensitive when it comes to retaining and wanting our players to stick and stay here in Indiana. We were thrust into a scenario or a situation where we hadn't faced in terms of that many players that wanted to leave, again, for one reason or the other. But then having to go and really, get into the portal as everybody else had to. Now you're dealing with, there's money involved, there's agents involved, there's more people, involved with these players, more than just their parents now. And so there's a lot of phone calls throughout the day into the evening that are being made, not just to the prospect, not just to the parents, but also, these agents, and also the people that they're relying on to help them, make their next decision of where they're going to go to school. So, it was challenging. We wanted our roster to make sense. I said it, after we had lost to South Carolina, I really wanted to get more athletic. I wanted to be bigger. And I do think that we are a more athletic team. Still, the faces that we have inside of our program, I do think we're still going to be one of the youngest teams, because those transfers that we did get in, other than Journey and Shay, those are only our 2 true seniors that are going to be, playing for us this year. But we're going to still be a young basketball team with some new faces, but I'm excited about the pieces that we do have. Just like anything else, it's going to be a process. We can't look ahead at what we hope the results could be. We can't put a number on how many games we think we should win. It's all about just trying to get better day in and day out. The summer was good for us, with the new faces. Not everybody was here, and not everybody was here at the same time. Val had to leave to go represent Czech Republic and play. Jade hadn't even gotten here from France yet. And Phoenix, she was back in the Netherlands also playing. And so, finally in the last couple of weeks, have had everybody, which has been, quite nice. I've probably practiced more early on in this preseason than I ever have in the past, just because of, not that we were playing catch up, but we were installing so many new stuff, whether it's a drill, whether it's, our philosophy defensively and some of the things defensively, offensively that we like to do. And so, it's been a good preseason for us, but I can tell you this: our kids are excited as they can be about starting official practice tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about some of these players you've brought in. You mentioned the senior, that a part of a very young transfer class. The senior is Journey Kyaku, comes over from Duquesne. What are you getting in the addition of her? What does she bring into this program?
Well, I think with Journey, the experience part of it is always a plus. But I think with her, you're going to find a very reliable defender. She's quick. She's used to picking up the ball 94 feet, applying pressure from a defensive standpoint. She's very fast in the open floor. I think she is aggressive also in the open floor. She's gotten much better since she's been here with some decision making, some choices that she does have to make inside of her offense. And decision making that she has to make. She's improved in that. The one area that we have to continue to challenge her on is just her voice. And that's just her communicating at a high level, both offensively and defensively. It's a tall task to run our team if you're going to play at that PG spot, because of, we run a lot of different things. Our actions are there's a lot of that. So her being able to get us into offense, when we flatline, when we try to run or trying to play fast and we flatline and there's nothing there, how can we pull that thing back out? Who can organize us? And so, her biggest challenge right now is just not just finding her voice, but being comfortable using her voice more so.
And another one that's going to be in that backcourt is Phoenix Stotine, coming over from Arkansas. What did you see in her, having that Power 4 experience, having played in the SEC? What's she bringing to Bloomington?
Well, I think that, we're probably going to talk about experience with all of them, where they've been, right? Playing in the SEC, playing for Mike Neighbors, who really likes to play fast. But again, another young lady who can certainly, get out in the open floor, create shots, not just for herself, but for others. I think one of the things that we're going to rely on her, Phoenix, is her outside shooting. Us being able with losing Sid Parrish and losing Chloe, who we relied on to be able to knock down shots from the outside. Somebody like that can come in and shoot it and be consistent from beyond the arc. And then, her defensively, again, she's a very good athlete that, is learning inside of our system right now defensively what it's going to take to be able to stay on the floor. And that's going to come by way of her, really locking into what we want to do defensively in our system. And then, like I said, I think she can be dynamic at times on the offensive side of the ball as well. She could easily become a really good two-way player for us, but we still have to. There's some work to be done in order for her to be able to do that. But she does show glimpses of some being a special player inside of our program because of her offensive ability. And again, another kid that, sometimes when they come in here, and you can appreciate this, it's a new system, right? So, I think sometimes their voice is probably not heard as loud as we need it to be. And I think at times it's just because they're either overthinking, just hoping that they're in the right place. And another kid that we gotta bring the best out of her. And when she's talking and when she's engaged like that, it helps her on both sides of the ball.
Last year, the two main point guards from last year no longer here. So I know you mentioned Journey being one of those. Do you see Shay taking on some of that point guard duty? Do you see Phoenix doing it? Is there others in the fold there as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're gonna have options. You need to throw Nevaeh in there as well.
Yep.
And so I do think we have some options in terms of how we want to be able to play Shay off the ball, with the ball in our hands. Same thing with Nevaeh. Same thing with Phoenix. And there'll be times maybe that you'll see Journey off the ball, but more than likely, she'll be in that PG spot. But yeah, we do have some options at the point guard. There's no question. And all three of those kids want to do, what we need them to do and what we want them to do. And that's push pace, play in space, create for others, but also be aggressive, getting downhill, trying to get to the bucket.
Another one of your transfers coming over from UCLA. You mentioned you spent some time with her in the Czech Republic, which is Xenia Sokin-Guman. Talk a little bit about her. You've now seen her play firsthand. You've gotten to coach her a little bit. You guys were involved in her recruitment coming out of high school as well. Feels like she's going to bring a lot of athleticism to this team.
Well, there's no question about that. Z is athletic. She has been, we recruited her like crazy, right? Before she ended up going to UCLA, and we're so happy, grateful that she found her way back to us. And again, her time at UCLA was well spent. For her, I do think she has a tremendous foundation. And that's credit to the staff at UCLA. But I think the summer with me, although she played spot minutes for us off the bench, but she came back to Bloomington a whole different kind of player. And I think that's one of the things USA basketball, it gives you a lot of different experiences, but I think it also can give you a big dose of confidence when you get selected and you're playing with some of the best in the country. And I think for Z, that really rang true for her. She came back. She's been more aggressive than ever. She's really stood out. And the thing that I'm most impressed with Z is her voice. She is a high-level communicator, high level, on both sides of the ball. But her ability to run the floor, her ability to get off the floor and get rebounds, but also be efficient around the glass is going to be critical to us having a balanced attack. And you've been with us, for several years, and you know how I feel about always wanting a balanced attack, not just having, the ability to create, shoot it from the arc. I do think that, we'll have an opportunity with Z. She'll be our anchor down low. There's no question. She just continues to, I feel like every day she gets a little bit better. She and Paul have worked religiously down there with each other, in her player development sessions, just the two of them. And she's added to her game. She looks more comfortable than ever, I think, playing with a really high level of confidence, which is what we need from her.
I think you've got a nice line of very vocal bigs that have come through the program. Yeah. I think about even Strip last year, obviously Mackenzie, Amanda Cahill, Kim Royster. You've had a lot of these, and it kind of sounds like Xenia is going to fit right in.
No question. And you need that, like I said, they're our anchor in the low block. And so they get to see, they see so much because usually the action's in front of them, right? So, but she has been, trust me, not a kid that I've had to get on very often about not being able to hear her. She's a natural at wanting to communicate. She understands the significance of wanting and having and needing a great communicator out there on the floor, and just how much better we are when we're all talking, right? We're all moving. We're in sync with one another. We're like a string out there defensively, and she's certainly the anchor to all of that. So, very, very proud of excited that she's with us, proud of the work that she's done thus far. And I'm really looking forward to, what she's the year that I think she can have for us.
Three more transfers. This is a big class you've brought in this year. Chloe Spreen from Alabama, Adessa Noyan from Virginia, and Jade Onjanemi from Northwest Florida State. What stood out to you about the rest of those players that you've now added to your program?
Well, I think with Chloe, it's great to have another Indiana kid, Miss Basketball, come back and want to join our program. And again, Chloe, she's kind of grown up here in Bloomington with us. She used to come to our camps when she was, in elementary, junior high, and so forth. So it's been fun to have her back, in Bloomington, and I know her family's super excited to have her back here in the state of Indiana. But again, another reliable wing. Chloe she's big. I think the biggest hurdle for Chloe, to continue to try to climb over is just playing with confidence, right? She is a worker. She's in here every day with Ali Patberg and Colson from time to time, doing their player development sessions. And I think, your confidence can only come from your work, as we say around here. And, she's a kid that, she's not going to jump off the page. She's just going to do what's needed. And you have to have players like that. They're called glue kids, right? That are going to get in there and they're going to make the right play offensively. They're going to be sound defensively. They're going to be, just a part of the puzzle, and and somebody you can rely on. And that's kind of how I see Chloe. She's a high IQ kid. She's grown up playing the game, as most of our kids are. But an Indiana kid has a tremendous amount of pride about being back here and wanting to represent Bedford, wanting to represent the state of Indiana. And that's just icing on the cake, right? Just a little bit extra. So, she has been a great addition, as well as Adessa, who's coming from Virginia, the ACC. Again, another kid that's played, at a high level. I think for Adessa, her learning curve, and there is one, right? When you're coming from a place like Virginia, where they predominantly played all zone defensively, and now she's coming to a place like Indiana, where we are predominantly man-to-man, as you know. And so, I think there's been a learning curve for her in terms of what our system looks like and how we've had the success, and where your rotations have to be on point, your communication has to be on point, from closeouts to rotations, being outside the paint for help, staying down, moving your wall. All of these are kind of new concepts for Adessa right now. She's very smart, though. She picks up on things very quickly. She's been very coachable. We do need her to help us around the low block. But she also has the ability to step out. She's kind of like Strip, and the fact that, she has range. It's probably one of the things that we noticed from the beginning when we were in the portal looking for size, was someone that had the ability to stretch, get beyond the arc, and knock down shots. And she's more than capable of doing that. But for us, we will ask her also to play a different kind of role for us, and that will probably put her closer to the basket than she's used to. But I think inside of all that, we're helping her grow her game as well. And so she's a young lady that has improved. There's no question, has improved while she's been here, and will continue, I think, to get better. But really, really high IQ. Jade's coming, from a junior college down in Florida. She's originally from France. So there's a little bit of a language, and I wouldn't say barrier, but in terms of verbiage, vocabulary, there's been some learning there, and just in terms of how we do things, and the pace that we play out every day, right? How we get from point A to point B, how quickly we transition. I think that's one of the things that she's getting used to. There's a transition when you go from offense to defense, but also from a water break back to the floor, from a timeout back to the court, all of it. And so I think she's learning the pace that we want to play at is maybe a little bit different than she's used to, but she has caught up quickly. She was not here at all this summer. She had some visa issues, so she was unable to be here, she was only here for the last week of summer access. She stayed. We weren't going to let her go back after all those issues. And so we not made her, but she wanted to stay and really get caught up with Kylie in the weight room and certainly in her conditioning. But another kid, another 5 player for us that I think can give us really great minutes because of her size, because of her length. And she just kind of has a nose, for the ball as well. So still has to learn and still has to grow and improve. But I always say this, like, I feel really comfortable and confident in our staff that we can, as long as those players show up every day and want to do the work outside of practice, our kids always get better. And so I have great faith and confidence that Jade will be one of those that'll just continue to get better.
Well, speaking of that, I thought last season Shay Ciezki was one of those players that just every game she played, she got more confident, and by the end of the season, she looked like the player we wanted her to be.
Right.
What's next for her? How does she continue to move forward with her game?
Well, I think the thing with Shay is she has to remember that, again, she can play with the ball in her hands and she can play with the ball out of her hands, off the ball. I think her biggest improvements in my opinion is defensively. In order for her to stay on the floor a year ago, she had to guard. And that was her, we looked at her in the portal, just from, her Penn State years. It was, you got to get better defensively because we're not a pressing team like Penn State is. We're going to play in the half court. Again, you've heard me say it. Rotations have to be on point. Communication has to be on point. Gaps, closeouts, all of it. And so I think that is she made her biggest, I think, stride a year ago defensively for us. We had plenty of people that could score the ball. And she, I think, eventually found a place, to be one of those people. And I think this year, not that she has to carry the torch and be our only scorer. I don't think that that's the case at all. However, I do think that she will have to score for us, in order to help us be successful. Shay is by nature very aggressive. Whether it's with the ball in her hands, off the ball, she's spent a lot of time down there, shooting and getting more shots up. But she will have the responsibility, though, of having to get us into her offense sometimes. And sometimes when you're a point guard like that, and we saw this with Chloe, you might not be the first, you might not be the second option. You may have to get us in our stuff. And at some point, the ball will find you inside of our offense. But your willingness to impact, your willingness to get other people involved and put them in positions to be successful, I think will be very important for us offensively as a team. But that starts with Shay and making the right decision in the moment and not getting too overzealous at times and making sure that, she keeps us organized offensively. I always say this, we don't want to turn it over, but we also want to be efficient. We want to take the shots that we want to get. And the only way that we don't do that is by us thinking that we have to, take a bad shot. We don't have to take a bad shot. And so I think it's learning, because she could play off the ball a lot last year too. A lot of her shots, came off of Chloe, and some of the other in by ways of other people, right? But I think for Shay, it's going to be important for her to certainly keep us organized, but also stay aggressive, but by making sure that we're getting the shot that we want.
You and I talked a lot at coaches' shows, whether it was during the on-air segments or just you and I talking off-air about Lenee Beaumont and how excited you were about what she could have brought to the team last year. Obviously, it didn't end up happening because of injuries. Now that she's healthy and back, what is the ceiling for her? What can she add to this program?
Well, I think she's grown a couple inches. I feel like every time I see her, I feel like she's a little taller, which is a good thing. But Bo has, although the surgery she had required a lot of time off, right? And so Bo didn't really get completely cleared until the very end of the summer. Like, I'm talking the last day, okay? So of summer access. She was practicing with us, but not doing anything 5-on-5. And so, so we took those 3 weeks off before school started. She went home for a week or two and then came back. And then now she's been, like I think I said at the beginning, we've been practicing more in preseason than I ever have in the past few years. And so she, and part of that was for Bo, because when you take that kind of time off, Austin, you lose your timing. I mean, everything, right? It's your timing, it's your confidence in, your knee that you got repaired. There's a lot of mental gymnastics that goes on, when you're coming back from a significant knee surgery that she had. And so we wanted to get her back, not being crazy, but I mean, back in the fold quickly. And by that, I mean, up and down, because we need her. We need Bo. Bo is extremely talented. She obviously can shoot it. She can, reminds me a lot of Grace Berger. Her, mid-range, can get to the hoop, big body, can post up. She does a little bit of everything. And so I think right now for Bo, it's just her getting more confident in that knee, her getting more confident in her timing. It's just playing. It's just back playing, getting the feel for what it was like, as a freshman here. But hoping that she learned a lot, though. I mean, there's still room in there for when she sat out a year ago, whether it was watching film, whether it was watching us from the sideline. Hopefully there was some growth there as well. I think she feels like she's grown as a player, even though she hasn't physically been out there. But I'm excited for her. She has waited and she's waited. She's been patient. Been patiently waiting, and so I'm really excited, for her to have an opportunity to get out on the floor and do what she loves, because she is so passionate about this game.
I keep saying it. People are going to be excited when they see her out there playing at full strength, and it's cool because she's very bought into the program too. She's out there with, you see recruit pictures, and she's with them, and just seems really bought into everything. So excited to see that.
That's the one thing, that she is. I mean, again, I think about the greats, the Allie Patbergs, the Grace Bergers, and Mackenzie Holmes, and she's going to be one of the greats. She loves this place. And, we talk a lot about legacy, and she's going to be one of those that people are going to continue to talk about after. And trust me, she has 3 more years in our program. Super excited about that. But she, as we say all the time, too much is given, much is expected. And she really understands that. I mean, she wants to give of herself. She's a terrific recruiter. I do think that when her career comes to an end, I do find her, I see her on the sidelines somewhere coaching, because she does have a natural knack for that. And so, I'm proud of not just the work that she's done, but I'm so grateful for the work that she's done for us in recruiting, and helping us, because she does. She loves Indiana. She loves being a part of our program. And there's no better representative than Lenee Beaumont when it comes to IU women's basketball. I mean, she has it all: school, basketball, smarts.
Yeah.
She can engage with anybody, talk to anybody, and so she's really special kid.
Well, let's finish our run through the team by talking about your 2 freshmen you bring in, and Maya Makaleski and Nevaeh Caffey. How quickly can we expect to see them enter the fold for you?
Very quickly. I think both of them you'll see. very, very quickly. I think that both of them have in their different skill sets. Certainly Maya will probably remind a lot of our fans of Sid Parrish. Could be that she's, coming from the same high school, but their ability to catch and shoot quickly. That's one of the things that I think they'll find with Maya. Her ability to stretch you out beyond the arc, I think, is pretty special. And she also has, because of her size, probably might be a little more aggressive in the low block. Like, not that Sid didn't like that, but I think Maya finds herself down there a little bit in some of our motion stuff that we run, and I think she kind of likes that. The ability to maybe post up from time to time. Her biggest growth has to come on the defensive side of the ball, which is for all freshmen. And it's usually away from the ball. It's usually not on ball. It's usually away from the ball. But that's where Maya, and she knows it. We kind of joke about it, and she tells me, I'm going to be a better defender when it's all said and done, Coach. I understand I got I got room to grow and get better. And so that's half the battle when they know that they got to improve. They know they got to get better. They know that this is the part of their game where they're not finding as much success as perhaps they did at the high school level. And this is the side of the ball where, in order for us to really, really help us, she has to improve defensively. But she knows that. And with that comes, more focus and more work, whether it's with Paul, whether it's with Colston, whether it's with Allie and Key in those development sessions of, hey, I can sit out here and shoot, right? But let's make sure that half of my time is spent on the things I have to improve from a defensive perspective, which I think is really important. And then Nevaeh is just the complete not opposite of that. I mean, this is a kid that she only has one speed, and it's all out. She gives you everything she has. She empties the tank every day. She is tremendous on the ball defensively. She is super aggressive. Sometimes can get herself in a bit of a pinch because she is ultra aggressive. But I'd rather have her like that than the other, right? Because I feel like I can pull her back a little bit versus trying to get her to go. And she is so honest with herself, so honest with others. I love how she's innocent, but yet she has tremendous leadership qualities because she sees things for the way that they are. And she has honest reflection time of like, no, just the other day we were talking about coming out and, her team, needed to get a stop, and you could tell they failed, right? They failed again. And it was like, we're not getting off here until we get this stop. And the body language of some of her teammates was not very good. And I think some of them got caught up in thinking when I challenged them that I was referring to them not talking, their language, right? Or I can't, and Nevaeh pointed out, no, she didn't say anything about that. She was referring to our body language. And so again, a kid that really understands, she gets it. She understands it. So grateful that she's here because I do think that she will set the table for us defensively. No question.
But you got me fired up, Coach. There's a lot of good stuff here. One thing I want to end on that we've been asking a lot of coaches, when Robin Freilich was on, she mentioned that, look, there's a lot of things still changing in the college landscape, but the good in coaching is still there. And so we've had each coach kind of explain what the good in coaching is to them. For you, what is it that you love so much about coaching? And do you believe that is still there despite all the changes that are happening in the college landscape?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Yeah, I think we all have to, and again, we've talked about this, right, to nauseam. We all have to change with the times, and this is what it is, and we all have to adjust. But I think that the core of still what we get to do is build relationships. We get to impact young people, and so many of our young women still fight, whether it's they lack the confidence, right? And I feel like that's whether it's performance, whether it's out in real life where there's still doubt, right? That always creeps in. And I'm not saying that men don't have these doubts, but I think it's more prevalent in women, especially young women. Social media has a lot to do with that, the comparison, all of it, right? The imposter syndrome that we all feel from time to time. I've gone through it. Sometimes I still go through it, but it's like I feel like my mission and my charge is to help our young women in that space, right? And to remind them that there's nothing that they aren't capable of doing, right, or becoming. And so the best thing that I get to do every day is be around 12. Well, I got more than that. I got a lot of women in our program and some men, but majority women, right? That I get to try to impact every day. And, I'm older in my life. I'm the oldest one around here, Austin. So maybe provide them with some wisdom, things that I learned, some things that I wish I would have known at their age that nobody ever told me. Right. And so I feel like that's still my charge. I still have the opportunity to do that on a daily basis. They help me. They make me, still feel young and have this kid spirit because I get to hang out and be around them. But I sure hope that every day that they're around me and they're around our staff, but especially me, that I'm bestowing on them this attitude of there's nothing that can keep us from being able to do whatever we set our heart and set our minds to. Nothing should prevent us from doing that. And so pouring into them every day and just trying to give them an extra ounce of confidence or enjoyment, bringing joy to them on some of their toughest days is something that I still really look forward to. And look, I'm not, it's we win and we lose, right? Those days we lose are a little bit harder, but I'm still trying to do my best to figure out how to impact these guys day in and day out by providing them with some type of good juice, right? Because ultimately, this experience at college, I always tell them, goes by so fast, and I don't want them to spend and they will, but majority of their time should be spent on really relishing the great moments that they have here at Indiana, being on a team, being a part of a team, which I think is one of the greatest gifts that athletics gives us. And so, I still think that in spite of all the craziness, we still come back to the heart of what we wanted. We wanted to do when we got in this profession, and that was impact young ladies.
That was a fantastic answer, and I'm really excited to keep chatting and as we go through the season. But Coach, I know I told you a minute mark, and we went way over it. So thank you so much for doing this, and we're excited to watch the Hoosiers this season.
All right. Thank you, Austin. Take care.
All right, thanks, Coach.